Hello, hello. It is an honor to be here with Tennessee State Senator Heidi Campbell. Hello, Heidi. Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, a couple things about Senator Heidi Campbell. She is one of six Democrats in the Tennessee State Senate. She is fighting the good fight in what is known as a super minority, which I don't think sounds very super or very fun or very easy at all. So, thank you.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, Senator, first question: where do you find the patience?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I don't always, but it's a learning process. And I think one thing I will say is I think it's important to have some experience in politics before you jump into something like this, because you really do kind of have to hone those skills, I think, in an environment that's maybe not as complicated and hostile. So it's been a process learning to find the patience over the years, not just with the Republicans and the supermajority, but frankly with our own side, because there is so much tension that's created by that dynamic for both sides that um, I think it's important for you to hone um, patience and also be able to have respect for everybody involved in the process. Otherwise, it's probably just unbearable.
I would imagine you think your background in business probably
Yeah,
has helped.
absolutely. And frankly, more so even well, I'd say the most thing is my background as a mom, but also as
Negotiating with little tyrants.
that's right, negotiating with little
Yeah.
tyrants, exactly. But also as a somebody in the music business, because that um everything is project oriented around here. And so, in the music business, you're working on a gig or a recording or something. And so it has a lifespan, and then you move on. And I think that being able to give those bursts of attention to things and multitask and switch hats is an important component of being able to survive up here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now you attended Sarah Lawrence, which is not a school for unserious people.
Well,
Huh?
and also I always say it's a school for turtleneck poetry and eating disorders.
Did you have lots of like jazz open mics kind of thing?
We did.
I
We
love it. I
did.
love it.
Yes, and eating disorders.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And so after Sarah Lawrence, you come immediately back to Nashville, get into the music business?
I did. So all throughout college, I had a band and played in the city, and my goal was always to come back here and start. Actually, my goal was to go back to New York and play with my band. But
I'm realizing now that I didn't do as much research on you as I thought
oh
I
yeah,
had.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I could have
So
found some good. Yeah.
I ended up staying. Actually, broke my collarbone cantering on a horse down a hill, and that changed the fate of my life because I ended up staying here because I couldn't go anywhere, and formed a band here instead. And it was awesome. I loved my band; it was great, but we never made any money. So I ended up licensing my music to film and television, which did make money, and then I started a licensing company and started licensing other people's stuff to TV and to film, and ended up becoming the marketing director for a record label, and then went to Vanderbilt and got my MBA, and then went up north to Minnesota, had a couple kids like a salmon, and then came back down
Like
south,
swim
and
upriver kind of
yeah,
thing. Yeah,
yeah, and
I
then
like it.
dragged
Yeah,
my husband a
we got
lot
to go to cold water. That's
down
where they
here.
spawn in this
Yeah,
area.
yeah,
Yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah.
Dragged my husband back down here like we Southern girls do, and ended up being in Nashville. Never, as a matter of fact, I was one of the people that annoys me the most. I had no idea what was going on in politics. Couldn't have told you who my representatives were when got involved in
Right.
politics.
No,
So.
we actually talked about that. Oh, sorry, kick your foot there. We talked about that a little bit before. We got this video started. Right? Is that it was one precipitous or precipitating event that led
Yeah,
to you saying, "Hey, I need to get involved because I don't like what I see and I think I can change it." Would you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, and I'll also say almost everybody I know involved in politics did that. So I meet kids all the time, meet with groups of kids, and they say, "How can I get involved in politics?" And I really say, you know what? If you think you might want to get involved in politics, find something you really love and believe in and go do that. because seriously, it's got to be organic. I think for you to be coming from and I think most politicians I know who do a good job, they did it because there was a singular issue, and mine happened to be. I was building a house with my husband and found out that they were going to, in this residential only city, be cutting into this massive hill on the Highland Rim and building a mall the size of Cool Springs shopping mall. And I thought, oh my God, we've got to stop this. It's an environmental disaster. And so I put a little group together and we stopped it. And then, everybody looked around and said, somebody's got to run for office. And so I ran and I became the mayor of my city, which is a tiny little teeny city in Nashville,
Mhm.
a satellite city. And then I was on all these boards and commissions and the Greater Nashville Regional Council, and I started to realize the crappy relationship that Nashville have with the state. And I thought, I really would love to run for office and see if I can't do something about that. So that was kind of the genesis of, and I ran for this seat and flipped it
Mhm.
5 years ago. And
Which was quite the surprise, right? You were the first Democrat in several.
30 years, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a surprise and important, I think, because we needed, we still do. We needed some positive energy on the Democratic side. We always joke, we went from a sedan to a minivan because, there were five, now there were six. But yeah, so, and then coming up here, it took me a minute to figure out how things work up here. For sure. It's not it's a complicated environment for sure.
We would need like 5 days worth of video to go into that. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna be here a while. Everybody call your families. Tell them we'll see them in 5 days.
Sit down, make yourself a drink,
Hey,
make yourself two drinks.
two. Start with a double shot.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot on the slate this legislative
Hmm.
session, from Governor Bill Lee's Education Freedom Act to Representative John Ray Clemens' school breakfast and lunch bill, which is HB 12, and you have the Tennessee Waste and Jobs Act, which pertains to extended provider responsibility.
Yes.
Would you tell us a little bit about that, as well as any other legislative priorities you have this session?
Sure, I would love to. Thank you. Thank you for asking. So I've been working on this for 2 years. And it is sort of my raison d'etre, my mission in life right now. And extended producer responsibility is legislation that's just starting to pass in the United States. 5 states have passed it, all blue states. We would be the first red state to pass it. And what it is major corporations paying for the packaging that they produce, and by proxy investing in states to support recycling infrastructure and education, and also in the process the goal, of course, is to reduce their packaging. And it
It's just
sounds
packaging specific and not specific to the production process for the product that goes in the packaging.
correct,
Okay.
just packaging specific, but we use so much packaging in this country that turns into 950,000 tons a year that would be taken out of our
Yeah,
landfills.
850,000 of those are on the side of my house from Amazon. Yes.
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 Yeah. That's the perfect example. We have way too much packaging, right? So, Nestle, Mars, Unilever, Danone have all signed on to my bill. We're talking to IKEA and Owens Corning. We've got lots of support for it. I am making this a red state bill, so it's very business centric. It's Tennessee Waste to Jobs, because it will create 7,500 jobs, bring $300 million a year in support to our state. And it's just circular economy is actually one of those rare places where everyone wins. And that's hard for people to believe because there's no such thing as a free lunch, but it just really is the truth. Every single person in the process wins because you are literally reusing it. You are literally recycling it through the process, and everybody gains when you do that.
How do you feel about the prospects for the bill becoming law?
I feel really good. I've got Republican support. I've got Republicans signed on to it. Bob Freeman is carrying it in the House, who I
Bob
love.
Freeman,
Yeah.
who's that guy?
Yeah. Who is that guy? He's amazing. And I know he'll run it really well in the House. And we've got a team of about 15 people, and the Sierra Club and the Tennessee Environmental Council are all on board supporting it. So if you're out there and you want to get involved, please join us. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely love it. And then now Governor Bill Lee has called a special session for January 27th, so next Monday, correct?
Yes.
And that is specifically to vote for his Education Freedom Act, which would expand the school voucher program in Tennessee. Proponents, people who want to see this become law, they say that it represents parents' rights, school choice, expanded school choice, and those opposed to it recognize that it will truly siphon off financial resources from public education and
Right.
from low income communities.
Right.
So, with that in mind, um, and it's funded by a tax, which kind of surprised me. And I don't understand that completely. I was hoping that you could explain that to me, not just the fact that I thought Republicans hate tax, but tell me a little bit about this and how it is
So,
tax funded and what it
yeah.
would do.
So this is part of the bigger, Project 2025 agenda. It's part of the Republican far right agenda that has been evolving over 50 years. There's a wonderful book
I
called
must say, I appreciate that when you talk about it, you don't pull a punch on what it really is.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can dance around it all day long, but that is truly what it is a part of.
Right, exactly, and it's important for people to understand that because it's framed like the far right does so well because they're really good at messaging as choice, but really what it is a subsidy for private school parents that already send their kids to school. What it would do is it would give 7,125. I can't remember the exact, but roughly $7,000 a kid to each parent or family that wants to send their kid to a private school, have them homeschooled, a Christian school.
And these would
Um,
generally be children who would be getting sent to private school anyway because their parents can afford
well,
to send
that's
them to
the
private
reason.
school.
The reason is because $7,000, first of all, won't pay for any private school in the state. Secondly, a lot of these rural areas can't access those private schools anyway. Third, these private schools get to choose, right? So really, the school's choice. It's really the schools that get to choose. And lastly, all of the other stuff that goes along with sending a child to private school is not included in including transportation and the books and all the other things that go along with that. So we know because we've seen it happen in states like Arizona that really what this inevitably does is forces the state to raise taxes so that they can continue to fund the process. And guess what? All of these privatized entities like Hillsdale College have
Mm-hmm.
moved in here, and they are offering the schools that are there to take up the slack, and they are the ones getting the money. So really, it's siphoning your tax dollars into private hedge funds.
Now, and I may have missed it, but tax on what it will be a sales tax increase, a property tax increase, or what type of tax has Governor Lee
He,
proposed
He hasn't. He's very
specificity?
carefully made it so that the first couple of years that this happens, it looks like it's just a dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's going to give the first year $2,000 extra to every teacher in the public school system, and he's made sure that none of it is coming out of the public school monies.
Mm-hmm.
And we have reserves in the state, so it'll come from our reserves at this point, but it's not sustainable in the long run. So, you don't have to be a genius to look at the math and see that it's absolutely impossible for that to go on. And he'll be long gone when that happens. And they'll have to raise taxes. And we know this, like I said, because it's happened in other states.
Well, I'm sure that if Marsha Blackburn were to succeed him as governor, that she would put a stop to it
Yeah,
immediately.
right, right.
Yes, I'm sure. I see that happening.
Yeah.
And now to fun questions, because who wants to talk about policy and legislation?
That's
Seriously, come on, guys.
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could spend a day with anyone who's ever lived, dead or alive, I mean, we wouldn't want them to be. That would be really boring.
To,
Like
to
still
spend a day
dead.
with a dead body.
Yeah, just like there. Yeah, it's
For
Leonardo
me,
da
it would.
Vinci, but
I just want you to know I'm not into that.
yeah, no, there's certain. Yeah, I didn't think you were. The research that I did on you told me you were not into that.
Yeah.
If you could spend a day with anyone who's ever lived, who would it be and why?
Probably Richard Feynman, and I don't know if you know who that is.
I do not.
Yeah, but he's a physicist, and he was. If you go back and look on the internet, you can find Richard Feynman lectures. He's an absolute genius with a sense of humor, and has this incredible ability to describe very complex things in layman's terms, and he'd just be great to hang out with for a day. And I highly recommend that you go out there and look him up because he's absolutely um, a, a scintillating person to listen to.
I will be looking him up.
Yeah,
I actually, watch like the Neil deGrasse Tyson,
yeah,
documentaries and whatnot. Any of
exactly.
his interviews, that kind of thing, where you're like, I have no idea what you're saying, but you do, and I like that you
But
do.
see, the cool thing about Richard Feynman is he's really a genius and can go into astrophysics and all kinds of stuff. But he'll also tell you how to pick a lock. I mean that's what's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just
My souffle is not rising properly, sir.
exactly,
If you
yeah,
could please help me.
yes,
I love that.
hmm
And then, as I told you, I've been working really hard to kind of get the word out, to get people, this past election, to get people registered to vote, politically engaged. And I think one of the things that I see so much of is just apathy,
yeah,
that they don't see how that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. The return on their time for getting involved is just, oh, the bill didn't pass anyway. Though, yeah, or
right.
they passed the law. I tried to stop anyway, and so they just feel like, what's the point? And a lot of people ask that have never been engaged, right? The ones who are really starting to see, oh my goodness, my eyes are open. It's really important that I become an active citizen. How do I do it? Do I register people to vote, which we were talking about, before this, or do I go in March? What have been, in your eyes and in your experience, the most effective and easy ways for any voter, any citizen, to just get involved?
So much of our focus around civic engagement is on voting. And the truth of the matter is that we're such results and attention deficit people because of the way that
Wait,
we've been trained through media. I'm
what?
sorry, stick with me.
Oh, sorry. I'm here. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman. Right? This is what we're talking about.
Is that we're not really thinking about what drives civic engagement, and I say that because I think instead of voting on or focusing on voting, which happens every 2 years or 4 years or
Which is
whatever,
important to focus on. We're not saying don't,
it's totally,
but yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I think that finding things you're passionate about and you love, and actually engaging in the community is so much more important because inevitably that's what leads to giving a damn and voting and paying attention. So I would encourage people to think about what is your thing about giving. Where can you give back? Where can you make the world? This is what I say to my kids. See the pictures ad nauseum. It probably drives them crazy. I say, what are we doing to make the world a better place? So figure that out. Are you interested in volunteering at a food kitchen? Are you interested in going and doing urban gardening? Are you interested in a bike club? Whatever it is, um, there are so many opportunities for doing that.
And then you meet people at those
Exactly.
functions that are engaged and say, come along with me to this other thing and get involved
Exactly.
here.
And not only that, you think, you know what? Our group really needs to get a bill passed to do this or that.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you're civically engaged. And that's so much more organic than just focusing on the results, the vote. That's how we got trapped into this situation, is by focusing on the bigger picture. And everybody's looking at the presidential race, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are really bummed out. There are some people who are really happy, but regardless, it's really not something we can control. What we
Right.
can control is our relationship to our immediate environment.
Yeah.
And so many of us have lost that. I'm guilty of it too, because of the internet,
Mm-hmm.
because, we have been siloed into our own bubbles, and we have this perception that we're somehow having an impact or being involved with this, bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And with the wealth migration of 80% up to the umpteenth of a percent, we're not.
Right.
So, I mean, really, the solution is to go local.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
I was the Gandhi quote was, "Be the change you want to see in the
Yes.
world." Is that accurate?
Yes.
I would hate to misquote anyone, but especially misquote
Gandhi.
Gandhi. Yes.
Mm.
But with that in mind, that just the community level, to that proximity, it's so much easier to kind of reach out and touch or impact, someone in your area. One of the things that my wife and I have gotten involved in is Walden's Puddle in North
Yeah,
Nashville. We go
love
up
it.
there and I don't want any responsibility for the animal itself, but
Yeah,
I'll go clean the habitats.
right.
I'll go clean the cages so that, the people who are working with the animals are actually the vet techs and so on. They can walk out, grab a clean
That's so
cage and go in.
cool. Yeah,
And it's fun. And it also, at the end of the day, it just feels good.
yeah.
Right? It feels much better than I just binge watch Netflix for 5 hours.
Right, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like the equivalent of eating junk food or, going out and actually, you know, getting some vegetables and
Right. Do something
getting some
healthy.
extra
Doing something healthy for
healthy for
yourself.
yourself. And there's so many options.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, we need everybody to help out with so many things.
I love it. Now you also have a quote, and I didn't prepare you to recall this, but you talk about Tennessee isn't a red state; it's a state that what?
Doesn't vote.
I love it.
Doesn't vote. And by the way, we have plenty of registered voters. We just aren't voting.
Really?
But yeah, so I mean, we need to give people a reason to vote, and people need to go get a reason to vote. I mean, we need to get out and engage with each other. I mean, that's really the solution to everything, I think.
Yeah. I like to say, hey, Republicans, go have a beer with a Democrat. Democrats, go have a beer with a
Yeah,
Republican. Yeah, please, please.
exactly.
Even if your community engagement starts there,
And
they can,
I love my Republican colleagues, and I do have beers with them. I mean, they're really good people, and I don't see things the way they see them. But as people, and that really, honestly, we do need to humanize one another. It's just gotten too divided.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Senator Campbell, anything else you'd like to add?
Um, I just first of all, thank you so much for coming up and doing this interview at a weird time. By the way, guys,
Well, is there anything big happening today, or what's
I was
going
going
on?
to say we
Yeah.
happen to be doing this on MLK Day, which is also inauguration day. So it's a very loaded day, and I think it's a really good day to be talking about, following the love.
I love it. Well, hey, I will let you follow the love back home because I'm sure this isn't where you want to spend your evening. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us. And I look forward, I'm sure that we will be seeing each other more around Nashville as we both stay
Engaged.
engaged. Yes. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you.